In today's video, we're going to talk about how we can use consistent colors and styles throughout your app for a uniform look. This document that I'm referring to is linked in the comments for the video and has several sections of code where you can copy and paste so that you can follow along without having to frantically retype it all. So essentially, there are lots of ways that we can set up reusable code. One of the things we've talked about so far is using reusable components within a components folder or assets. Later we'll learn about navigation, and when we get to navigation, we'll have different folders for screens and all sorts of things. Now, for our purposes, our styles folder is going to hold different styles files that we might want to use across all different sections of our app. So in some cases, your app might use a lot of specific theming, such as with React Native Paper or some other styled components. And in that case, you might have additional files that you would use. But for right now, I'm just going to focus on using a colors and a default styles file. So we want to get started by creating a folder for our styles. And then within there, we're going to create a color. Well, that should be plural, colors, colors.tsx and a defaultStyles.tsx file. And so here are examples of my code that I have that you could just snag and copy and paste so that way you don't have to retype it all. So let's go into our project, and in our app folder, we want to make a new folder, and we'll call this one styles. You'll notice that the naming convention is that a folder or a file that holds many things is plural, and then the singular element, like if it was just a component, would be singular. So for my styles inside here, I'm going to add a new file, and I'm going to say colors.tsx, and then my other one is going to be defaultStyles.tsx. And you could have multiple styles if you wanted. Like you might have styles for, I don't know, a different language or different things, larger font sizes. So you could absolutely make different styles files here. I'm just right now going to do one for colors and one for default styles. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to double click on this editable box, and we'll select all. And it's very zoomed in. Okay. Oh, shoot. I forgot to copy. All right. We'll select all, copy, and we'll come back over here. And in my colors, I'm going to paste this and then save it. And you'll notice that we have a variety of different labels here. This primary, secondary, error, and so on. Those are common colors or names that are used for main styling in your app. And then we'll come back over here and we will snag the styles. So select all of that and paste that and save. Okay, so what does this mean? First of all, a couple things going on. I want you to notice that my default styles is importing my colors. The reason why that's useful is because that makes it so that I can refer to colors in my colors sheet within my styles. So here I was saying that I want the background of my container to always be my default background color. Now here inside my text, this is pretty cool how we can do this. If we look, let me actually move this to the right. I'm just going to split this to the right, and now I can look at them side by side. So if we look at this, inside my theme here, I have a light and I have a dark. And so if I wanted to make the color of this title be my dark text, then I could go ahead and I could say colors.text, and then I could get, up here, colors.text, and then I could get my dark. If I wanted my light text, I could say colors.light or .text.light. Goodness, I can't speak. It must be too late. And so that's what this dot notation is showing. This first one, the colors, is telling me that it's from this file that I imported. The second one is telling me the first thing that I'm getting. So I'm getting the text. And then the third one is that nested layer in. Now this here where we have theme, that would be where you could have even more personalized styles where you conditionally found out which theme they had set, and then based on the theme, you would then further describe the background and the text based on their choices. Okay, so if we look at index and we want to see how I would apply these things. So let's go into our index.tsx and just ignore all that code we have down there. Just trying to not have to delete everything while I'm doing the video. Okay, so if we start by looking at this and let's say, I lost a parenthesis. Not sure what happened there. Okay, so let's say I wanted to add in a text tag. And let's say I wanted this text to use my text style. Well, in order to use this text style, I have to import my default styles. So I'm going to come up here, and if we look at the way that we use this, we're going to import our different files, and then I want you to pay attention to the way that this file path is listed. So the file path that I have might not be the exact same as yours unless your folder structure matches mine. So what this is saying is the dot dot is telling me to go backwards, and then the slashes are telling me to go forwards. So let me show you how that looks within my code. If I look at my folder structure, right now my file index.tx is right here. So if I were to say that I wanted to import, and I wanted to import colors, first of all, it's going to try to find it, okay, which it does. It sees it right here. And so in this case, I don't have to go backwards. I can just go straight into it. And that's because if I minimize this, I'm going to see that index is basically even with my styles folder. It's not inside of it. It's not inside of another folder. So I don't have to go back before I go forward. I can literally just say, hey, your styles is kind of like equivalent with you in terms of the hierarchy. So just go into styles and then find that colors file. And the same thing will be true with my default styles. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say import default styles, and it's going to go ahead and do that as well. Now, if we look at the way that I had to import my colors file over here, I'm just going to delete that line. If I am in this file right here and I want to import colors, well, default styles and colors, they are literally like siblings. They're both inside the same folder. So when I say import colors, it basically is saying, hey, you're right next to me. So go where you're at and just find colors. And then that's going to go ahead and grab that. Now there will be some times where maybe we are inside of a component. So like, let's say I was inside one of these and I wanted to reference my colors or my styles. Well, in that case, I would have to tell it to go backwards to app and then go forwards to styles and then go into colors. And so that's why you sometimes see different file extensions. If we look at the, let's see, which one of these did we just do? Let's open up this My button. So even though this might not be the exact code that I used in the My button video, let's just say I wanted to import my colors file. I could say, for example, import, and when I start trying to type colors, notice that this path looks different. And that's because the dot dot is telling me I have to go backwards out of my folder. So once I go out of my folder, I'm now at the app level. And then I have to go into the styles folder, and then I can find colors. So it's just all relative to where you are located. All right, we don't need this here. So I'm gonna close that out. Okay, so let's go back to our usage of our fonts and whatnot. So I've got my colors, I've got my default styles. Now, also as a side note, I don't have to use the exact same name here. I personally like to do that because I think that makes it less confusing. I don't see why I would call it one thing here and another thing here, but you don't have to. However, whatever name you use here, that's what you need to use when you're referring to it. So let's say I wanted to go ahead and apply. Excuse me. Hold on a minute. Okay, sorry about that. So right now I just have this default view which has my container styles, and so that's why I see these styles right here, which are literally just saying container flex of 1, nothing fancy. Okay, and let's say I wanted to put a view inside of this, and I wanted to apply this button style. Well, then what I could say is I could say style equals, and then in my curly braces, instead of saying styles to refer to this set of styles, I could say default styles. So if I said default styles dot, and then now this is pulling up all of my options that I have over here for my button. And then if I were to, inside of here, do a text, and I just said, I don't know, click me. And then inside my text, I used my button text style. I could say style equals default styles dot button text. And then now if I save this, I'm going to see over here that I have my button, and my button is using my primary color that I have defined over here as my background. If I were to change this and just say, for example, pink, now I changed this file, and since default styles is referring to this one, I now see that change here as well. And that makes it so that I can have one consistent color palette. Everything here is all being used consistently throughout my whole app. So then if somebody comes in and they're like, those colors are ugly, I can just change them in one place, and then everything is going to auto update throughout my entire app. Same thing is true for your styles over here. Let's say somebody's like, look, I don't want the button to be that big. How about we make it a little bit smaller? Maybe they want the width to only be, I don't know, 100. So I can save that here and I can see how that looks. And you might decide, okay, that's great, but maybe that's not always great. And so we can also, within our code, is we can use the option to have an array of styles. So we talked about this before. If I put my array syntax here, I can then, after my default style that I have here, I can just override a style. So I can say, for example, width, and I could make it 100. And that is a typo. Hold on a sec. All right, so man, this pesky syntax, sometimes it really gets me. So I had just a small typo in my syntax. So the way that we read this is, first of all, the brackets are telling me that I'm going to have an array of styles, and these are going to be applied in order from left to right. So first, I'm going to apply the styles of default styles button, which would be these guys right here. And if we look at this, these styles are having us have a width of 100. And as we saw a minute ago, that wasn't wide enough. And so what I did here was I added on an inline style to make it 200. So if I were to take this same code and I were to copy this and just do another one right above it, and let's say I were to make this one of size 400. Now, that's really big. We'll say 300. Now I can see how I've essentially kept all of these same default styles, but just made it slightly bigger. So again, this is just a way that you can have a set preset of styles, but then you can override certain pieces with it to make it fit your needs. All right, so when I ran into my syntax error here, what I did was I referred to this syntax document that I have created, and I went over this in a previous video, but I will go ahead and link this as well. Oh my goodness, because I think it is very helpful just to see all of the different ways of using syntax in React Native, especially now that you might be applying more styles as you're learning about the different ways that we can make our code reusable. All right, that is all. I hope you found this helpful. Have a good day.